Hello and welcome back to my Pokemon adventure around the world, where we are catching one Pokemon in every country we visit using Pokemon Go, and trying to beat Pokemon Scarlet in a Nuzlocke with this team. Feel free to check out the previous episodes linked below, but as a quick refresher, we now have a team of 6 Pokemon, half of which are Grass-type starter Pokemon. In the last episode, we suffered crazy odds, and I mean 10 times less likely to happen than a shiny Pokemon odds. Feel free to check out the last episode. And we kinda technically died and lost the Nuzlocke, but to quote the greatest poet of my generation, it's our party, we can do what we want. End quote. So we got past Iono and are headed for a collision with Mela, the fire crew leader of Team Star, who is about to completely obliterate our team of mostly grass and bug types, unless we find a decent Pokemon in Bolivia. We left off the last episode at the Peru-Bolivia border, and we are now firmly on the Bolivian side, where we arrive in the town of Copacabana near the border. From here, we take a boat trip on everyone's favourite lake, Lake Titicaca, just as we did on the Peruvian side, but this time we're headed to Isla del Sol, or the Island of the Sun, right next to the Island of the Moon. I'm thinking this could be a good idea for a Pokemon game, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon maybe? I don't know, seems like it could work. Only a couple hours from here is La Paz, which is sort of the capital of Bolivia, and sort of isn't. I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. That also makes it sort of the highest capital city in the world, not because the residents enjoy using copious amounts of energy powder, but because it is located 3,650 meters, or ask Google, feet above sea level. Parts of the surroundings even go 4 kilometers above sea level, so I'm glad I'm acclimatized in the slightly lower altitude of Cuzco, Peru, before arriving here. Now, how do you build public transport in a place like this, which is both mountainous and crowded? Well, La Paz has an answer for that. An extensive and unique web of cable cars, laid out with 10 separate lines which connect to one another like a train network would. It's also an incredible way to see the city from above. Another way to see the city is by ATV. I wanted to check out a place called Valle de las Animas, but I didn't realize they would make us spend half an hour driving through the city like this to get there. But hey, I can confirm I didn't die, and frankly, this is a memory I won't soon be forgetting. Once arriving at our destination, it was all worth it. The otherworldly landscapes here are truly breathtaking. Speaking of otherworldly landscapes, there's also Valle de la Luna, or the Valley of the Moon. I swear, how is Pokemon Sun and Moon not set in this country? It was actually named as such because Neil Armstrong visited and thought it looked like the moon. Personally, I haven't been to the moon yet, so I guess we can take his word for it. Either way, this place is pretty amazing. La Paz has some incredible nature and some awesome cable cars, but a trip to this city wouldn't be complete without witnessing the Fighting Cholitas. These are women from rural communities who have put together their own unique flavour of wrestling, think WWE, and turned it into one of this country's chief tourist attractions. This is well worth seeing. One thing definitely worth seeing is Bolivia's main draw, Salar de Uyuni, the otherworldly salt flats high up in the Andes. I feel like I've used the word otherworldly about 12 times already in this episode, but my time in Bolivia was characterized by feeling like I was on the surface of the moon more often than not. In the salt flats, depending on the time of year, you can get the mirror effect where the water acts as the world's largest mirror. Fantastic use of double team, I say. Salar de Uyuni is also the second largest salt flat complex in the world. The largest is, well, we'll find out in about 5 episodes' time. Exploring the salt flats also equaled 2 days without even the tiniest semblance of a telephone signal. Like seriously, I haven't been this disconnected from the world since, well, ever. I didn't even know the result of my football team's game for a day, which is a unique first world problem, but also it was the first time in 10 years I didn't do my Duolingo. Thank God for streak freezes. More pressingly, I also couldn't log into Pokemon Go, which meant no encounter in the salt flats. Thankfully, I filmed a backup at the Tiwanaku ruins near the Peruvian border, and that ended up being our encounter for Bolivia. Over to my past self to hopefully find a non-grass type Pokemon. Welcome to Tiwanaku, Bolivia. It is time to catch another Pokemon to add to our team. So let's fire up Pokemon Go and let's see what we end up with in Bolivia. Have I clicked on something yet?
You have.
Oh, it's a Snorlax. Okay, this is interesting. It's hard to catch, but assuming we catch it, it will be very useful for our team. There we go. We caught it. Snorlax joins us here in Bolivia. Have a look at his wonderful stats. And there it is. Our Pokemon from Bolivia is Snorlax. My first thought after catching Snorlax was that it would be a great team member in the long term, but as a normal type, it doesn't really solve any of our immediate problems. After getting back home, sending Snorlax into Pokemon Scarlet, and breeding a Munchlax, I had 2 realizations. Firstly, I thought I would hatch a Snorlax rather than a Munchlax because I didn't have a full incense, but apparently they got rid of that in Gen 9. Who knew? Secondly, and more importantly, our Munchlax has the Thick Fat ability, which halves the damage it takes from fire and ice type attacks. This is actually quite huge for the upcoming battle against Mela. It's not quite a Pokemon with a type advantage, but it's the next best thing we could have asked for. I decided to nickname our new team member Me, because both Snorlax and myself would consider our best strengths to be eating and sleeping. In fact, the only difference between Snorlax and myself is that I'm yet to fall asleep on a major national highway and block all of the country's traffic. I'll work on it. Oh, and I guess my appetite hasn't caused a famine yet, so that's a plus. Our next task is evolving Munchlax, because we are going to need Snorlax for the Mela battle. Fortunately, friendship evolutions aren't too bad in this game, and a little bit of running around and a few levels up triggers the evolution. Then, all we have to do is catch Snorlax up to the rest of our team, as it's going to be our primary weapon for the Mela battle. Yes, we do have a water type in the form of Mareanie, but I don't think a Mareanie, which doesn't evolve until the absurdly late level 38, is going to be able to handle Mela on its own. While training Snorlax, I stumbled across a Rain Dance TM, which started to formulate a strategy in my mind. The biggest threat when facing Mela is that her Torkoal's Drought ability triggers intense sunlight, which will power up both her Torkoals and, more importantly, her Revavroom's fire type attacks. We need to eliminate that weapon, so Mareanie with Rain Dance can help us achieve that. Then I'm thinking Snorlax can come in and clean up with a super effective rock or ground type attack, armed with effectively a 4 times resistance to fire, thanks to the rain and thick fat. Once Snorlax is all trained up, it's time to put the plan into action. The creepy guy who broke into my house shows up in his outlandish outfit once again, and he seems to recognize a Charcadet from the academy even though he claims not to be the director of the academy. Then we quickly dispatch the grunt at the gate and can start our star barrage. This is when you choose 3 Pokemon who are good against fire to take out 30 Pokemon in the base, though in our case, I just choose the only 3 Pokemon who are not weak against fire instead. Once Mela makes her appearance, something very interesting happens at the start of the battle. It is raining in the overworld, and to my surprise, that means Torkoal's drought ability cannot trigger. This effectively defeats the purpose of Marini's Rain Dance, though having permanent rain in this battle against the Fire-type leader is even better. I could have used the TM to teach Marini a Water-type attack, but I decided not to, as I was confident Snorlax could take care of matters on its own. Snorlax comes in and uses Stomping Tantrum, possibly my favourite name for an attack ever, which I taught with a TM. Once Revavroom comes in, I freak out because it seems to stop raining, but I guess that's just an animation glitch because Revavroom literally hits Snorlax about as hard as a wet paper bag. Snorlax easily absorbs the damage, and a few Stomping Tantrums later, the battle is won. We get Mela's backstory after the battle, and she gives me a Flame Charge TM, emphasizing that it's for my Marini and not for me. Look, not everyone is a Pokemon nerd, but it really doesn't take an erudite mind to work out my water, poison, jellyfish, starfish thing probably can't learn Flame Charge. But hey, nobody accused her of being the brains of Team Star, did they? All in all, that was a successful episode. Snorlax really came in clutch, and it's going to be a useful Pokemon moving forward. Next time, we'll take on the Titan Orthworm, which Snorlax is probably going to play an active role in defeating, as well as facing my favourite gym leader, the Water-type specialist Kofu, who we can hopefully get past without Snorlax, considering our army of Grass-type starters. In any case, we will get another encounter in the next episode once we cross the Chilean border and find a cell signal. Make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And do hit the like button and leave a comment below. Oh, and spoiler alert, there may or may not be another starter Pokemon in our future. Let me know who your favourite starter Pokemon is in the comments below. And leave a fire or water emoji. Let's hope it's one of them and not, I don't know, a Chikorita. Until next time.